Greetings, Sentinels. This is Universe Unique, and today, the truth comes to light. One thing is certain. When the Joker leaves a mark, it's never by chance. But this time, what showed up wasn't his smile or his voice. It was something far more unsettling. Right in the middle of the Clayface shoot, a simple street poster has set off alarms among fans of the new DCU. On a wall in Gotham, the poster reads, "Corruption is the enemy of the people. March against the GCPD. This Saturday, 2 p.m. Join the Joker." At first, it looks like just another set dressing detail, until you realize exactly where it appears, and when it appears. Subscribe to the channel now, because we are about to reach one of our most important milestones. And with your support, it's going to happen much sooner. Here, you will always find the clues before anyone else, with real theories based on evidence, not speculation. And let me know down below in the comments. From which city and country are you watching this video? I'm reading every single one, absolutely all of them. If this content is keeping you connected with the hottest news and theories from the nerd universe, then go ahead and give it the triple kill. Like, comment, and share. Sometimes, the most dangerous element isn't what you see, but what is implied. During the filming of Clayface in Liverpool, a city being used as the perfect stand-in for Gotham's decay, an image leaked that at first looked harmless. A black and white poster, worn down by rain, with large letters and a political message. Join the Joker. What matters most here is not the villain's face, nor any direct signature, only his name. As if within this world, he already functioned as an organizing force. As if Gotham no longer needed to see him to follow his lead. That detail changes the entire reading of how James Gunn is shaping his DCU. Because if this is just a background scene in a film centered on another villain, then what is happening in the margins is even more unsettling than it first appears. We are no longer looking at the Joker as a visible antagonist. We are looking at an ideology spreading, and in the DC world, that usually ends in disaster. But there is something even stranger. It's not only about what the poster says, it's about where it was placed. And this is where a possible direct connection emerges with one of the darkest elements of Gotham's lore. Because yes, that street, Park Row, has history. And it's not just any history. Soon, you'll understand why this detail could be revealing the entire tone of James Gunn's new universe. There is something deeply unsettling about the way James Gunn's new universe seems to be handling the Joker. This time, we don't see him laughing, killing, or even speaking. And yet, he's there. Felt on every corner. In every crack of Gotham. That poster is not just a message. It's a warning. Proof that the Joker no longer needs to appear in person to enforce his rule. He functions as an idea, an urban myth that has already infected the city's very soul. And that is far more terrifying than any laugh. This inevitably recalls Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight. Heath Ledger's Joker had no clear origin, no defined motivation. He was chaos in human form. But here, Gunn seems to be taking it one step further. Turning the Joker into a political symbol. A figure who doesn't even need a body anymore, because he has become a collective narrative. Is he still just a villain? Or has he become a movement? And that question opens another door. If, in this universe, the Joker is already acting as a kind of unseen leader, then who is actually behind the poster? Is it a gang of copycats? A group of anarchists using his name? Or is there something more structured at play? A real network representing him? The absence of the character on screen doesn't reduce his impact. It amplifies it. He becomes a phantom watching everything from the shadows. The choice of location, Park Row, the very place where Bruce Wayne's parents were murdered, is not accidental either. That street symbolizes Batman's founding trauma. And now it's the setting for a protest called in the Joker's name. That symbolic reversal, that role inversion, is disturbing. As if the past itself were being rewritten before our eyes. And maybe it is. What makes this approach interesting is that in this type of storytelling, the Joker doesn't even need to appear physically. His mere existence as a latent threat is enough. But if this is already happening in Clayface, a film where he is not the lead character, then what comes next could be much larger. Because there is a theory now circulating behind the scenes, and if it turns out to be true, it could redefine the Joker's role across the entire DCU. Not just as a villain, as something much more dangerous. Let me explain. While most attention was focused on Superman, Legacy, or Batman, the brave and the bold, James Gunn quietly bet on a project that, at first glance, looked smaller, but may actually redefine the tone of the new DCU from the shadows. Clayface, directed by James Watkins and written by Mike Flanagan, the same creator behind Dr. Sleep and The Haunting of Hill House, is not just a story about a tragic villain. It's a statement of intent. And more than that, it's a warning. Gunn himself admitted it bluntly. If this script had reached him years ago, outside the DC world, he and Peter Safran would have produced it as a pure horror film. And not just any horror. We are talking about body horror, that subgenre that literally gets under the skin, exploring physical transformation as a reflection of internal trauma. Pure Cronenberg, but with capes and Gotham. At the center is Matt Hagen, played by Tom Rhys-Harries, a washed-up actor, brutally disfigured by a crime boss who turns to experimental science in an attempt to rebuild his face. But the price is more than physical. The character doesn't just become a monster, he becomes a symbol. A reflection of society's obsession with appearance, with perfection, with reconstructed identity. And that connects directly to the Joker. Because if Clayface is the man who changes shape to hide his scars, the Joker is the one who flaunts his with pride. One hides, the other imposes. And this is the true contrast Gunn seems intent on exploring, not just between villains, but between visions of chaos. One is a tragedy that deforms. The other is a revolution that seduces. And there's another clue confirming this direction. The adult tone. Gunn has already made it clear this movie is aiming for an R rating. No concessions, neither visual nor thematic. This isn't about a cartoonish villain facing a digital Batman. It's about pain, transformation, and decay. And in that setting, the Joker becomes an omnipresent shadow. If he shows up, it will be to destroy what little identity Matt Hagen still has. But even if he doesn't, his legacy is already working as the poison seeping into every corner of Gotham. That might be the key, because the true horror in this DCU isn't found in visible monsters. It lies in ideas that outlive bodies. And there is one in particular, born in the 1990s in an animated series, that now seems more alive than ever. To really understand where Clayface is headed, we need to look back. Mike Flanagan, the writer of the project, made it clear. His biggest inspiration was the two-part episode Feet of Clay from Batman, the animated series, which aired in 1992. And that is not a casual reference. For an entire generation, that series was not just another version of Batman, it was the version. Dark, elegant, tragic, and deeply adult in its emotional treatment. Exactly what Gunn seems to be bringing back. In those episodes, Matt Hagen is no longer just a villain with powers. He is a victim of industry, of ambition, of vanity. A fallen actor addicted to a cosmetic serum called Renew You, which he uses to maintain his perfect face. The result? Betrayal, murder, and a horrific transformation into a shapeless clay monster. But the most haunting part is not his appearance, it's his scream. The desperation of someone who has lost not only his body, but also his identity. That narrative power, so visually striking, is now being carried over to film with surprising emotional fidelity. The fact that Gunn and Flanagan are betting on this story as a pillar of the DCU, and not just as a side Elseworld, indicates a very clear intention: to rebuild Gotham through trauma, not spectacle. And if the Joker is already present as a symbol, then this universe is not preparing for a simple battle between hero and villain, but for a conflict between shattered masks and uncomfortable truths. There is also a visual element worth noting: the style. The animated series of the 1990s introduced a Gotham stylized by noir cinema and German expressionism, with harsh shadows, retro-futuristic architecture, and an atmosphere of elegant nightmare. The leaked set photos from Clayface so far appear to follow the same logic. Dark streets, political posters, structural decay. Everything looks designed to make the city speak before the characters do. And if that is the tone, then it makes sense the Joker doesn't appear directly. Because what they're doing is preparing the ground, planting fear before showing the monster. And when we finally see him, if we do, it won't be with a triumphant entrance. It will be as an inevitable consequence. The result of all the social poison accumulated since the first frame. But there's something else. If they are using Feet of Clay as their blueprint, then they might also be replicating another narrative structure hidden within it. One that connects the Joker to Clayface's transformation far more directly than it seems. And if that is confirmed, it could completely change how we read the new DCU. A question is starting to spread among those following every move of this new DC Universe. Are we already witnessing the birth of a new Joker without having seen his face? The appearance of the poster is not just a set dressing detail. It's a deliberate message loaded with political, symbolic, and narrative weight. Using his name for a protest against Gotham's police and placing it in Park Row is a calculated way of signaling that the Joker, whoever he is, already exists as part of Gunn's DCU. Not as a criminal clown, but as a figure of unrest, almost revolutionary. This is not new in the character's mythology. In the comics, especially in arcs like Batman, Endgame, or Three Jokers, the Joker has been more than an antagonist. He has been a cultural force, an urban myth capable of reinventing himself again and again. In some cases, it is even suggested that there is not just one Joker, but an idea replicated, a legacy passed on like a virus. What we see in Clayface may be exactly that. The suggestion that Gunn's Joker is already here, but we haven't recognized him yet. And if we think about it, there is a disturbing parallel between Matt Hagen's story and what could become the story of this new Joker. Both characters are born from trauma, from disfigurement, from the loss of identity. Both turn into something unrecognizable. The difference is, one tries to find himself again, while the other embraces chaos as his new form. If Clayface is the shattered mirror, the Joker is the reflection that refuses to disappear. Gunn's own creative style points in this direction. In the Suicide Squad and Peacemaker, we already saw how he builds villains from humanity, but also with corrosive irony. His style plays with satire, with the grotesque, with the marginalized. That is exactly the Joker's raw material. So it wouldn't be surprising if, instead of presenting him with a grand reveal, Gunn shows that he was already there, embedded in the background, manipulating from the sidelines. And there's one more possibility. One that may sound risky, but fits the narrative logic of this first phase of the new DCU. What if the Joker has already appeared at some point before, even in the Suicide Squad or Peacemaker, under another identity? What if this movement is his way of preparing the stage to fully emerge? It wouldn't be the first time Gunn hid an important character in plain sight, only to reveal them when the entire system was ready to collapse. The truth is, if this is the path they're following, there's no turning back, because a Joker born from social context rather than accident doesn't need a chemical bath to be dangerous. All it takes is for us to believe in him. And that is why there is one last detail nobody is talking about. A detail that could rewrite this entire narrative from its very origin. There is a fundamental difference between what is seen and what is felt. James Gunn seems to understand this better than anyone. Since taking creative control of the new DCU alongside Peter Safran, his approach has not been about instant spectacle or about copying Marvel's formula. It has been about atmosphere, about tone, about building a narrative that doesn't need to shout to disturb. And what's happening in Clayface is the first major sign of that strategy. This universe is not built on cameos or on repeating iconic lines to exhaustion. It is built from the margins, from the silences, from the symbols pasted on a dirty wall. And that forces the audience to pay closer attention, to be more engaged with what is happening in the background rather than dazzled by the fireworks in the foreground. Because the important thing is no longer who appears, but what they represent. And the Joker, in this case, is not a character. He is a presence. A crack in Gotham's foundation threatening to spread. This type of storytelling may demand more from viewers. It doesn't hand out all the answers immediately. It doesn't showcase villains as merchandise-ready products. It hints at them. It sets them up. And it only reveals them when the impact is irreversible. We saw this in the Peacemaker universe, where moral conflict outweighed physical action. We see it now in Clayface, where the horror doesn't come from the monster itself, but from what that monster represents. And that's where the real strategy lies. Because if this universe makes you feel the Joker before you see him, then it has already succeeded. When he finally does appear, if he does, it won't be a twist. It will be the inevitable consequence. The materialization of fear, of disorder, of the ideology that already precedes him. But there is one final detail. It's buried within the leaked set photos, the unconfirmed rumors, and the seemingly innocent statements. A detail that could rewrite how we understand the origin of Gunn's Joker. If it proves true, we won't just be facing a new villain. We'll be looking at a complete redefinition of what it means to be the Joker in the 21st century. Did you catch it too? Because if no one else is mentioning it, that may be the very reason it's real. There is something profoundly disturbing about the way the Joker is being framed in this new DCU. Everything suggests that James Gunn isn't building a character in the traditional sense. He is constructing a latent threat. A presence hinted at in every corner of Gotham that, for now, remains faceless. And that's precisely what makes it effective. Because when a villain hasn't even appeared and yet already dictates fear, politics, and chaos, then we are no longer talking about a criminal. We are looking at a corrupt system embodied in one figure. The leaked image of the poster is only a spark. But every spark needs fuel. And that fuel already seems to be burning within the world Gunn is putting together. A Gotham that doesn't need the Joker to collapse, because it has already embraced his logic, his disorder, his philosophy. If that holds true, then this isn't about the Joker's arrival. This is about the peak of his legacy. That leads to a possibility few are willing to say out loud. What if the Joker in this universe has been manipulating events from the very beginning? What if he has already crossed paths with other characters, maybe under a different name, a different face, without anyone realizing? James Gunn has used non-linear storytelling and hidden twists before. He knows how to place a key figure directly in front of us while keeping their identity concealed. And if he's applying that method here, with one of the most iconic villains in history, then his eventual reveal won't be just another scene. It will be a narrative detonation. The Joker no longer needs makeup or laughter. Ideas alone are enough. And those ideas are already planted. The poster confirms it. Gotham's atmosphere amplifies it. The absence of Batman allows it. And Clayface, at its core, may only be the beginning. A doorway to a universe where villains don't wait for the spotlight. They control it from the shadows. If this breakdown has made you see the DCU from a new perspective, subscribe to the channel. We are close to reaching a major milestone, and your support could make the difference. Here, you'll always be one step ahead, with in-depth analysis, grounded theories, and connections that most people haven't noticed yet. And before we wrap up, let me know in the comments which city, or even which country, you're watching from. I enjoy seeing how far these theories travel, and who's on the other side. Because this isn't just content. It's a community of sentinels piecing the puzzle together in real time.